Have you ever done everything right, but life still wouldn't open the door? You made a plan. You tried. You didn't run away. You didn't quit halfway. And still, nothing moved. Not because you weren't good enough. Not because you lacked willpower. Sometimes there are seasons in life where you walk carefully, do everything seriously, and the road ahead still closes quietly. That feeling isn't loud. It shows up in quiet evenings. When you lie still and wonder why, the more you try to move forward, the slower everything feels. This story begins in that familiar moment. The moment you realize maybe the problem isn't effort, it's timing. The man in this story had been there too. He didn't dream too big. He just wanted to leave where he was. Go a little farther, and come back with a better life for his family. Each night, under a small oil lamp, he replayed his plan in his head. The road, the timing, the steps he would take. It all sounded reasonable, not reckless, not wishful. And then, right when he was ready to move, the road stopped. No warning. No explanation, just an ordinary morning when he stood still and realized the path he planned to take was no longer there. He thought it was just bad luck, a small delay. Then it happened a second time, and then a third. Every time he was about to leave, something would happen. Nothing big, nothing dramatic, just enough to make him stop. People around him shook their heads. Maybe it's not time yet. And he started asking questions. Not life, but himself. Why does this road keep closing right before I step through? If you've ever felt this, leave a comment with number 1. No need to explain, just to know someone else has stood in front of closed doors too. After being stopped so many times, he stopped reacting strongly. No clear disappointment. No anger, just a heavy feeling, and resting quietly on his thoughts. Some evenings, he sat alone for a long time. No new plans, no fixing the old ones. He began to notice something hard to name. Maybe being blocked again and again wasn't a message to quit, but an invitation to observe himself, to observe the road he had chosen. And for the first time, he allowed himself not to move forward right away. When he stopped trying to push ahead, something strange happened. The road didn't open, but inside him, things felt less tight. Days passed simply. He did familiar work, helped his family, fixed small things around the house. There was no big goal to chase, no long plan to worry about. Just each evening, he sat still a little longer and noticed he'd stopped asking why so much. Maybe stopping isn't failure. Maybe it's how the body and the mind learn to breathe together again. In that quiet space, he started to see things he used to miss. Nothing big, just very small details. A morning that felt calmer than usual. A task finished without rushing. A meal not pushed by the next plan. He realized that when he stopped chasing one single road, his view widened a little. Not to find a new path, but to understand where he was standing. For the first time in months, he didn't feel held back, just gently set down. And in that slowness, something inside him began to settle. One day, when he was no longer looking for answers, a small meeting happened. No appointment, no big advice. Just an older person sitting quietly by a familiar piece of land. They didn't ask where he wanted to go. They asked where he felt tired. The conversation moved slowly, with space between the words. And from that silence, a very simple suggestion was placed in his hands. To change his life. Just to look at it more closely. The person didn't explain much, didn't say whether he should believe it or not, and they simply gave him one small thing to do. Plant one seed in a place he walked past every day, and plant another in soft ground near the water. No promise to follow, no promise of results. He did it. Then went back home. Life went on as usual. Days passed with no signs. Until one morning, he returned to the familiar land. One place was still hard and quiet. The other showed a small green sprout. No noise, just enough to make him stand there for a long time. He didn't rush to understand what he saw. He just stood there, comparing the two familiar patches of ground. Same seed, same hands, different outcome. Not because the seed was better, not because he did anything differently, only because where it was placed was not the same. One spot was stepped on every day, hard, dry, no space for roots to hold. The other was shaded, had water, had time. For the first time, he didn't ask what he did wrong. He began to see that some things don't grow, not because they're weak, but because they're placed in the wrong place. Maybe what matters isn't how many times you've tried, but where you're trying. We often blame ourselves when things don't grow. Say we're not good enough, not strong enough, not patient enough. But this story reminds us of something else. Sometimes the problem isn't the seed, it's the soil. Closed roads aren't always rejection. They may be moving you away from ground that's too hard and guiding you to a place with enough time, enough quiet, so you can grow in your own way.